Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Julian Morris. The headlines. Agro-processing receives a shot in the arm with a $4 million coffee plant to be in operation by the end of 2023. Dominica to continue negotiations with the French on a draft agreement targeting illegal trafficking. And Government Housing Loans Board announces availability of a revolving fund to facilitate climate adaptation. The details of the headline stories and more coming up. Welcome back. The Ministry of Agriculture is on track to have an operating coffee plant on island by the end of this year. This as government continues to invest in agro-processing to boost Dominica's export product while increasing the agriculture sector's GDP contribution. Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and the Blue and Green Economy, Honorable Roland Royer, stated $4 million will be allocated for the rehabilitation of the coffee plant.
Cabinet has approved a two-phase strategy for the coffee sector. The first, working with the Venezuelans, will invest around $4 million to rehabilitate the coffee plant in Portsmouth. We know it was damaged by Hurricane Maria, and even prior to that, we had some operational issues. And so, as we speak, we have all equipment required already packaged, ready to be shipped, and they will be on island at least before May of 2023. So far, we have brought water, the Wasco lines, to the facility that was not there before. And of course, we work with Dominica as well to install and replace the transformer, which will be commissioned when we're ready to operate the facility.
Technical support will come from Venezuela to assist in bringing the plant to full operation.
We've conducted technical assessment for the uptake of 2 million BTU natural gas, which will be required to run the plant. So we've actually started putting things in place and work's being done. So once we receive the equipment, the technical support will come from Venezuela. With a consultant will be hired to come and install the equipment, and then there'll be the consultant will also train young persons to operate the machinery to have the coffee plant running. So we're on track, and hopefully by end of year, we should see the coffee plant in operation.
Due to Hurricane Maria, many coffee farms were destroyed, and the ministry has been working on expanding coffee production. However, the ministry will import coffee beans to start production as soon as possible.
To begin operation at the plant, we'll import green coffee beans from Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Venezuela to process on their respective brands, and that will be sold back to the countries while we expand production. So once there's sufficient coffee in Ireland, we'll start doing our own coffee brand and market our brand Dominica. So to begin, we'll work with the countries, process, sell back to them with their branded coffee. While we expand, we bring our coffee and do our own brand to market Dominica's coffee. So that's how we intend to start operation.
Minister Royer encouraged the farmers to continue production of coffee plants, adding that the ministry will provide support to those farmers.
In the meantime, we continue to expand, encourage farmers to plant and provide the planting materials required for that. So we've already identified the zones and locations that are best suited for coffee, and we continue to work with the farmers. So Extension is promoting that, and we have already identified the varieties that is best suited for coffee.
The Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment, in partnership with the Government Housing Loans Board, have announced the availability of a revolving loan to facilitate climate adaptation in local homes in the amount of $1.98 million. This pilot project is geared towards building Dominica's capacity to become an accredited entity to access climate financing from the Green Climate Fund. The Government Housing Loans Board officially signed on to the agreement as a service provider with the Ministry of Environment on Thursday, 2nd March 2023. Chairman of the Government Housing Loans Board, Mr. Felix Thomas, anticipates the benefits of this GCF EDA project.
It has been a long time in coming, but like every other thing, sometimes things have processes to go through. But we are happy today that we are able to sign this document that will see the Government Housing Loans Board having access to close to $6 million, well above $5 million, to assist the public officers at an interest rate of no more than 2%. It will go a long way, and as we have said before, it is a pilot project. It will serve as a revolving fund, and we hope that we'll be able to help many public officers, and maybe in the future, citizens of the Commonwealth of Dominica in a whole, who are desirous of making their homes more climate resilient.
Minister for the Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment, Honorable Kozia Frederick, elaborated on the GCF EDA project during a separate interview.
The project has 4 components that will be implemented in 3 pilot countries, Dominica, Grenada, and Antigua. The last component is the award of concessional revolving loans. Our ministry is delighted to have the Government Housing Loans Board as the service provider for this component, and even more pleased to be able to offer these loans at the highly concessional rate of 2%. As we aim to become a climate resilient nation, we are ensuring that we can reduce vulnerabilities of individuals. The loans are to be used specifically for water management, water efficiency, ensuring buildings are climate smart, for flood control, and structural adjustments such as roof enforcement. At this rate, we truly hope to reach vulnerable households like the folks in the Kalinago space. The ministry continues to contribute towards the ambitious goal to have Dominica become the first climate resilient country in the world.
The components of the GCF EDA project, which will be officially launched later this week, will help Dominica see an even greater increase of homes up to climate resilient standards. Dominica's International Airport, which will be built on an over 5-acre plot, is undoubtedly a massive project. The venture is bringing together a variety of expertise to ensure that this multi-million-dollar project is executed according to international standards. One of the first considerations for developers is prioritizing the suitability of the soil for such a project. In addition to the Environmental Impact Assessment, or EIA, it is critical that the geotech survey is undertaken. Geotechnical investigations are performed by geotechnical engineers or engineering geologists to obtain information on the physical properties of soil earthworks and foundations for proposed structures.
We're about halfway with the geotech study, and it's not some people say, well, do you do the geotech study before you choose the site? No. I'm sure we've all seen airports being built in the water. Hong Kong actually built an airport out at sea. In Japan, they built an airport out at sea. So it's not about a go no go, but if it's about knowing what the soil types are and what engineering adjustments need to be made to work with it.
The geotech survey is informing what happens on the ground as work on the airport's foundation progresses.
How we prioritized the assessment is, as you can imagine, the runway is the critical area, which is where the planes will be landing. The apron and taxiway area, also very, very critical. So for the most part, we've done a preliminary assessment over the entire length of the runway. But according to regulations, we have to be a little bit more exhaustive, and we hope that probably in the next 6 months to have the entire site complete for the geotech. But we have enough preliminary information to work with to influence and inform the designing that's going on right now. So it's not a sequential process, it's a parallel process where you use the information you get to make tweaks as you go along.
The fact that the geotechnical survey is underway is in no way, I should say, hinders the project's advancement.
You can do it in parallel. So you don't have to have everything finished before you can do the next. You can use the information that you get and work with it and design and tweak. Because there, as you can appreciate, over 500 acres, you have the terminal area, the apron area, the facilities, and then the actual runway. You can use that information and work in parallel, because I'm sure everybody will appreciate we're working with a very aggressive timeline to try to get this done. So we're trying to do it in parallel, right? And work with information that you get and tweak. So do it in sprints.
Dominica has welcomed a new French ambassador as His Excellency Francis Etienne, ambassador designate of the French Republic to Dominica, presented his credentials to President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles Savrin, last Friday. President Savrin stated since establishing independence in 1978, Dominica and France have maintained friendly and fruitful relations resulting from the long-standing historical and cultural ties existing between the two countries. Dominica has also greatly benefited from assistance from the French government in various sectors including health, tourism, agriculture and education. President Savrin noted that he looks forward to the continued negotiations of a draft agreement targeting illegal trafficking in the Eastern Caribbean.
It is my expectation that during Your Excellency's term of office, that we will resume the process of negotiating and finalizing the draft agreements between both our governments, namely the draft agreement on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters and the draft agreement on extradition, which were initiated in 2017, aimed at fighting against the various forms of illicit trafficking in the Eastern Caribbean.
President Savrin added that the commitment from the ambassador to deepen bilateral relations will assist Dominica on its path to sustainable development.
I am further pleased to note, Your Excellency's commitment to further strengthen relations and to deepen bilateral cooperation in the areas of security and defense, legal assistance, climate change, biodiversity preservation, culture, education, and health. These are areas of focus for us aimed at assisting in managing the many challenges and difficulties we face as we chart a path to sustainable development.
Meanwhile, newly appointed French ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Francis Etienne, stated that the two governments must improve their cooperation in order to fight crime.
One big question is the rapid rise of criminality, namely violent deaths, gut smuggling, and drug trafficking in our region. It is causing great concern in Fort-de-France, Pointe-à-Pitre, Roseau, and Paris. Enhancing security is a common goal which requires all our forces. Together, we need to quickly upgrade our police cooperation, our border cooperation, and our judiciary cooperation. France has already proved that Dominica can count on its support and will do so in the future.
The adoption of a memorandum of understanding for the strengthening of judicial cooperation will be a priority for Ambassador Etienne.
An increased bilateral cooperation at operational level is needed. To this end, organizing as soon as the Joint Security Commission, which was last held in 2016, would be very welcoming indeed. We also need to strengthen our judicial cooperation. A draft MOU on mutual legal assistance is on the table, and a working session on this issue is needed as well. We think the time has come now for a formal adoption, and it will be one of my priorities over the next 3 years.
You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. The public is reminded of the importance of paying their water utility bill on time. The Dominica Water and Sewage Company, DOWASCO, remains committed to enhancing lives by providing quality and affordable water. A number of bill payment options have been made available in the past to accommodate the public.
I want to thank those who are really paying their bills, but we do have challenges of a number of people who just wouldn't pay, and and just wouldn't pay their bills and seek other ways out not to pay their bills, and that is of concern to us because the bills are already very small. And we need the money to assist in the operations. I mean, the government has had to assist us over the years all the time. And because of the small bills, and when people do not pay, it compounds the process, compounds the problem. and really unfair to those who are trying to make their payments.
DOWASCO continues to work with the general public to improve service delivery and encourage better payment management.
But we are working with people in that regard. We are asking people to come in and make arrangements, where necessary, and try to understand their plight and try to work with them. We do not have a direct online system at this point. We are working with the bank to see that come to fruition, but we do have several methods, several means whereby people can pay. MLAJA receives payments on behalf of DOWASCO as a credit union league system. We have end-to-end distribution or Distributors Limited, SurePay. They receive quite a few people make use of those services, and the credit unions, of course, we continue to use the services of the credit unions and the banks as well.
Meanwhile, Mr. Etinoff expressed his sincerest apologies for any frequent disruptions to the water supply.
We understand the plight when they do not have water. We are facing some challenges following the trough systems. And something that we've noticed in recent times is even like it's dry now, very sunny in Roseau, Springfield could be impacted. It has been compromised over the years, and then we are doing some work in the river as well to upgrade the system. So hence the reason why sometimes you see it's dry in Roseau and there is some slightly turbid water or no water at all. At times we have to shut the system down. But we are working towards that. We do apologize to people in the Bellevue rural area. They are impacted frequently. Upper Kings Hill. These are two of the areas that are really, really impacted quite frequently.
Principal partners across the Caribbean gathered at the Alliance Française on March 1st, 2023 for the official launch of the Interreg Sinuca film project. This project finally came to our shores after being successfully launched in French Guiana, Guadeloupe, Martinique, St. Lucia, and Antigua. Director of Culture Media Services, Mr. Subazespri, says the primary objective of the Interreg Sinuca film project is to establish a Caribbean film library.
There is need at this stage in the development of the Caribbean for there to be a greater awareness of that rich heritage, that rich film heritage. And so this project sets out to capture that in a sort of to inventorize the work that has been done over the many decades on the history of film in the Caribbean.
Mrs. Anita Bully will be responsible for conducting extensive research to capture and archive productions of Dominica over the next 3 months. She highlighted the importance of preserving the work of the pioneers of the film industry, such as Charles Gregoire, Laurel St. John Augustus, and the Government Information Service.
We have a new generation coming up who don't know anything about Dominica, okay? Past the SeaWorld and whatever that is going on around them. They have their phones, they are on YouTube, and they don't even know the people in Dominica much more, okay, works that have been done in the audiovisual sector. So it's very important that we do it, not only documenting those things that were done locally, but how Dominica has been used as a backdrop for several of the films, major blockbusters.
The Interreg Sinuca film project intends on restoring Dominica's audiovisual heritage to a digital library to increase access to these productions by wider audiences. A new phase in the development of the international airport with the arrival of tons of heavy equipment over the weekend. It's finally happening. After much anticipation, the ship coming from China arrived on Dominica's shores on Friday the 3rd of March 2023, carrying a significant amount of heavy equipment, critical for the execution of the airport development plan. Following its arrival on Friday, the ship was able to dock on the Woodbridge Bay port on Saturday, 4th March 2023, to facilitate the offloading of the equipment, which will be initially stored at the old public works site near the Woodbridge Bay port. A representative of MMCE was present for the arrival of the equipment. MMCE are the developers of this airport project.
We have been working on the engineering part of the drawings, engineering design, schematic design, and detailed designs for all disciplines with our designers in the States. in conjunction with the rest of the team in different parts of the world. And at the same time, we've been working on site with regards to the soil tests, and that's a very sophisticated procedures.
Mr. Murad says MMCE has been conducting extensive testing necessary for such a project.
We got all the equipments required to do the soil testing and studying of the site levels, etc. And we have established, as you maybe all know, a special laboratory for all these tests and results. Just to make it simple, for every boreholes we have about 26 different tests of soil.
CEO of the Airport Development Company told reporters the Environmental Impact Assessment, or EIA, was concluded last year. What is ongoing now is what's called a geotech study,
where you need to ensure that the quality of the soil material for cutting and for filling is suitable, right? And if it's not suitable, what adjustments or what treatments can be done with it. As we all know, that part of the island is a lot of clay, and that brings its own challenges. But we've been working with the lab to determine exact elasticity, moisture content, and all that, and then what sort of treatments will be done to ensure that there's slope stabilization. So that is still ongoing.
Mr. Johnson says they are halfway through the geotech study. Excavation is a major part of the project, and the MMCE has been anticipating the arrival of the equipment which will accelerate its work.
For now, for today, this is a good day that will expedite our work, will expedite the construction, it will expedite the excavation and the backfilling and all this. So we have today about 132 pieces of equipment, in addition to 44 containers full of building materials, in addition to 11 tons of steel rebars. That's what you see up there.
The magnitude of this project, over 500 acres, is captured in the size of the impressive fleet of heavy equipment which arrived on shore on Saturday.
We have about 49 dump trucks, 6 loaders, 6 bulldozers, 5 graders, 2 forklifts. We have roller compactors, 12 of them. We have the dynamic compaction. We have the excavators, about 16 excavators. We have the crush, we have the concrete patch plant, 2. We have the crane trucks, we have the mobile cranes, etc. And we're talking about from big size to medium to small size.
Regarding the arrival of the equipment, Mr. Murad says this is just the first batch and there is more to come. He anticipates that they will continue to receive containers as the project progresses. The MMC's operations manager was asked about the employment of local contractors on the airport project.
As for the airport, we definitely are planning to hire locals in all professions, starting from laborers, skillful technicians, engineers, inspectors, but we may require to request for certain certificates or certain training prior to that, but it's one of our goals is to focus on the local market, focus on the local human resources.
Mr. Murad gave credit to Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit for his policy of hiring local contractors on projects of this magnitude.
MMC has about 12 projects, 12 housing projects under construction now, and all been done with local contractors. MMC is dealing now with close to 65 local contractors, in which 16 and actually 20 of them are now working at Grand Bay, 10 of them are working at Scott's Head, 7 of them are working at Point Michel housing project, 9 of them are working at Egliston, which is yet to start. 7 of them are working up there, you can see it, at Canefield housing project. 10 of them are working at VECAS housing project. 8 are working at Paybush housing project, and 4 are working at Penville housing project. 9 are working at Woodford housing project, and all these are local contractors, and their subcontractors are local subcontractors, and their suppliers and electricians and plumbers are locals, so you can do the math.
He says when it comes to the airport project, MMCE will take every opportunity to use local resources. Acting Project Manager of China Railway, or CR5, Mr. Joseph, also believes the arrival of this first consignment of equipment will help expedite the airport construction project.
Actually, CR5 is a global company which is undertaking the project across the Asia, Africa, Caribbean area. The CR5 undertakes the airport, highways, railways, even the buildings, the plazas, and all the harbors. So it's a very fully organized company, and it's qualified for the construction of the airport.
CEO of the Airport Development Company says CR5 will not only bring technical skill and know-how, but they will also create an opportunity for knowledge transfer.
Because one of the things that the agreement with MMCE includes is, and Carl spoke about it at length, is ensuring that as many locals as possible are involved in the development of the project. And CR5, as Joseph indicated, has a vast amount of experience building airports, railways, major infrastructure works all over the world.
Mr. Johnson says he has full confidence that CR5 will be able to deliver. Mr. Benoit Bardwell is chairman of the Airport Development Committee. He says the arrival of the equipment brings us to a very important juncture in the life of the international airport.
It's here for all to see that the equipment is here, and this equipment is going to be stored temporarily at the public works area as well as on the port, and we are going to have them moved to Wesley within the short space of time.
Bardwell says the economic impact of the airport project will be significant.
In terms of the economic activity, this is going to spur economic activity for Dominica, because in the construction sector, it is actually going to bolster the issue of employment. As you've heard a little while ago, several engineers, several local persons have been employed. Now you're going to have a lot more persons being employed, truckers. You're going to have a lot of activity within the airport construction site. And I dare say that is going to help us from the economic standpoint. And we are going to, the airport brings not only during construction, but even after completion, the airport will continue to provide jobs of various classes to the Dominican population.
Julian Morris, GIS National Focus. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I am Julian Morris. Thanks for watching.